If you've been experiencing pain in your wrists or your forearm due to working too hard and too long at your computer, then you gotta check out the MX Ergo Trackball and the MX Vertical Ergonomic mouse from Logitech. What's up friends, welcome back to another tech review where I find awesome things to simplify your life. Today we have both the ergonomic mouses from Logitech and we're going to put them against each other in these 4 areas to find out which one is going to work the best for you. And also we'll be announcing last video's giveaway winners at the very end of the video, so make sure you stay until then. And everything that's said in this video is just my opinion only, and if it has helped you out in any way, please remember to like and subscribe to support the channel. And without further ado, let's get right into it. So both of these mouses are made of a rubber texture / material. It is very durable, and because it's kind of rubber, it's very sweat resistant, so it's very easy to clean. You just wipe it off and there you go. And then very quickly, you'll notice on the vertical mouse that there's a very nice silver accent on the very top, which has the Logitech logo on it and has the customizable button. It's a very nice touch to the mouse, although I don't actually know if it's plastic or metal. It sounds like it's plastic, but it's cold to the touch, so it's very confusing. But anyways, it adds a very premium feel to it. But when you actually pick up the mouse, it's actually very light. My first impression on picking out was like, oh my gosh, what did I pay for? It feels kind of cheap. It actually feels like the whole inside part right here is hollow, but when you actually use the mouse and move it around with your hand and fingers, it actually moves very easily. So I do think the lack of weight is intentional so that you don't have to use that much force to use the mouse, so that you won't strain your arm as much. But compared to the Ergo mouse, this is actually very, very heavy, and it's actually okay because it just sits there. But that makes it feel very substantial, very premium. I like it a lot. And notice that the Ergo actually has a metal plate attached to the bottom of it. This is magnetically attached so that you can change different angles, and we'll get more into that later. But overall, in terms of looks and first impression, you gotta admit, these two mouses look very weird. But the vertical mouse actually looks quite cool, like in a weird alien way, but the Ergo just looks kind of round. And both of these mouses aren't really portable because of the size and shape. It's gonna be inconvenient for you to carry these around in your bag. So really it's a tie here between the two. They both look and feel very premium, and it's really a personal preference which looks better. But looks don't really matter, it's just a bonus, because the most important thing is the comfort, and that's what we're getting into next. So I've used the vertical mouse for around a month now, and I've gotta say that the comfort is a bit interesting. So the ergonomic mouse is designed that your hand is kind of curved around it versus your hand resting on top of it. It's kind of supposed to imitate a handshake kind of form so that it gives you a more natural and relaxed grip. And from using this mouse, I did notice a few things. First of all is that when you put your whole hand on it, it actually doesn't fit your pinky finger that well. After using it for a long time, my hand does tend to fall down, resulting in my pinky finger being dragged on the table. And also, I'm not sure what this bone is called right here, but this touches the table as well, and for some people that might be uncomfortable. So you do have to kind of learn how to rest your hand on top of it so it doesn't fall down, and it just takes effort for me to do that. So I didn't really like that. So compared to a normal mouse, when using the vertical mouse, I did notice that there was a lot less movement and stress in my forearms, so that's a very good sign. But however, there's still a lot of movement in the wrist, which was my biggest problem because I had pain there from using a normal mouse, and that's something to notice. But on the other hand, the grip on the Ergo is very, very comfortable. I love it. I've been using this for around 6 months now. I do a lot of video editing, web browsing, and working on Excel spreadsheets, and I can definitely say that it excels in all those areas. So unlike the vertical mouse, this actually holds my whole entire hand, including my pinky. This is the most important part. And it really feels like I'm laying my whole palm on something. It feels very nice and wholesome, and I don't experience any stress on my whole arm because nothing's moving except my thumb, because that's all it takes to move the cursor around. And this is really important if you're experiencing pain in your wrists or your forearms, or you have carpal tunnel. And in addition to that, the Ergo has 3 positions that you can adjust to. The first is using this plastic base over here. You put it on the bottom, and it kind of has a similar angle to the vertical mouse. But however, I do find that I don't actually use this base a lot. I actually just use it like this, and I really do like the option of switching different angles, because I do find myself switching from here to here very often to maintain comfort. So in the end, if you're looking for comfort, the Ergo does make the biggest difference of all, because it minimizes stress on your wrist and your forearm versus the vertical mouse, which only minimizes stress on your forearms. And next up is all the customizable buttons and features. And this is a huge selling point for buying Logitech products, because you can actually program each button to do whatever you want in your computer. And you can also set them to application specific functions. So for example, on the screen here is my Ergo mouse and what I have set them to when I use Final Cut Pro. And then when I switch out of that program and use something else, it switches to its default mode, which is this. And notice that the Ergo mouse has 6 customizable buttons versus the vertical mouse, which has only 4. And this is because the Ergo mouse has a tilt scroll, which can scroll sideways, versus the vertical mouse, which does not. And I mean, when I first found that out, I was very disappointed because it's a very basic thing. I don't know why they couldn't have just added it in here as well. Because this is very frustrating when you're browsing the web and you want to scroll sideways, but you can't, and especially if you work in Excel spreadsheets. So that was a big no-no for me. But however, it kind of makes up for it on the software side. So in the Logitech options, if you do have a Logitech keyboard as well, you can press the function button, and that adds another layer of gestures that you can assign to your mouse. So when you press the function button and move your mouse right or left, you can program those to scroll left or right. Another difference or benefit of the vertical mouse is that you can connect it up to 3 devices versus the Ergo mouse, you can only connect it up to 2. And also you can connect it through the unifying USB or tether it using this USB-C cable directly into your computer without any wireless connections. Versus the Ergo mouse, you can't do that because it uses a micro USB port and it can only be used for charging. Which now is a good time to mention that at full charge, each of these can use up to 4 months. So battery wise, you really do not have to charge it. I think I only charged this thing like 3 times. And the last quirky thing to note is that both of these have a precision mode, or what I like to call sniper mode. So it's really cool. You just press a button on the side here and your mouse goes from your normal speed to a very slow speed. And this is actually very useful because for me to make thumbnails on YouTube, I actually take a screenshot off from the Canva art that I use, and it takes very precise movements for me to be able to do that without getting the white space on the side. And the difference on the vertical mouse is that when you switch between the two, you can actually hold onto the button and drag your mouse left or right to adjust the speed for both of your speed options. So that's really nice versus the Ergo mouse. You can't really do that. You can only switch between the two and can't change it unless you go into the software. So in the end, even though the vertical mouse has a lot of features, it lacks the tiltable scroll. So that's why I do have to give the advantage to the Ergo here, because it's all about having the convenience of scrolling left and right at your fingertips versus having to buy a Logitech keyboard if you don't have one and pressing a function button and dragging your whole arm just to do that. What can I say? I'm a lazy guy. And finally, let's go over the best use cases for each of these mouse and what they're really good at. The trackball is really good for small, precise movements because the trackball is actually really sensitive, and it's easier to whip the cursor from one edge to the other, especially when I have my custom button right here and I just have to whip the ball left and right to switch desktops on my Mac versus having the same thing on my vertical mouse. I have to actually move my whole arm to do that. This is a lot better in my opinion. So that's really cool and all, but however, if you require both speed and precision, like when you're gaming or doing graphic design, the vertical mouse will work a lot better for that because it's able to produce a much more precise linear movement, so it's a lot easier for gaming when you're aiming for things and need to get to things really quickly, especially when you're doing dragging and dropping motions. So if you're a gamer or graphic designer or anyone that uses that type of application, you're gonna have to go with the vertical mouse. It's gonna work a lot better versus the Ergo mouse. So with all that being said, you're either gonna hate or love the other one. It really depends on your preference. The trackball did take me like a few days to get used to it versus the vertical mouse, you get used to it right away. So it's best to go to Best Buy or something to actually put your hand on them and feel what works for you. For anyone who spends the whole day at their desk working, I definitely recommend these. So for me, I'm definitely gonna stick with my Ergo mouse. It works a lot better for what I do and it's damn comfortable. So in the end, what do you guys think? Which one's gonna work better for you? Are there actually better alternatives out there that you recommend? And if any questions at all, please comment below. I try to answer as many questions as I can. And last but not least, the winners of my $10 Amazon gift cards are these 10 lovely people right here. And if you're one of them, my email's in the description below. Send me a message and I'll get them sent right to you. So really, that's it for now. Thanks for watching. I really hope I helped you out and we'll see you in the next review. Bye!